Hi there, this is Unmesh from PiXimperfect, and today I'm going to take you through the complete process of portrait retouching right from Lightroom to Photoshop and back. And we're going to focus more on skin retouching today and where it exactly falls in our workflow. And most importantly, we're going to have a giveaway. So keep watching to know more about it, and without any further ado, let's get started. So here we are in Lightroom, and this is a photo straight out of the camera. And here's what I personally do. If I know and if I'm certain that we're going to edit this photo in Photoshop, I just do basic adjustments in Lightroom. However, if you have a bunch of images and 95% of the images you're going to process in Lightroom, then you might go through all the sliders and the settings. However, if that's a photo you're going to retouch in Photoshop, I just personally correct the white balance and the exposure, just the basic stuff. Alright, so in this photo, I think the exposure is on point. I love the mood. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it a little warmer. You see, white balance, I treat it like an art. You can make the white balance perfect, but you're not doing photojournalism, right? We are doing art. So play with white balance, okay? So I'm gonna increase it. Wow, look at the warm mood. You don't have to do any of the curves and stuff for this. Just have a look, white balance, amazing stuff. So I'm gonna keep it at this number. It looks fine to me, and everything looks fine to me. Just play with highlights. Yeah, I want it to be a little brighter, not too much. I don't want it to be blown out. By the way, just a tip, if you want to make sure if anything is blowing out or not, you can hold the Alt key or the Option key in Mac and then move the slider to make sure whether any area is losing details. For example, similarly, if you hold the Alt key and do it with the whites, you will see there will be a point where it will show some artifacts over here. It means that those areas are losing details. So with highlights, even if we move all the way to 100, we are not losing details, but it's not looking nice. So we're gonna stay right in here. This looks fine to me. All right, 60 looks fine to me, and we are pretty much done. You don't have to move all the sliders. If it looks okay, stop. One of the biggest mistakes that we do in Lightroom that we overdo it, right? So once you're ready, right click in here and edit in Adobe Photoshop CC 2018, all right? Just click in here and it will open your image in Photoshop. Your version of Photoshop might be a little different. So instead of CC 2018, like you saw, you might see something else, right? So here we have an image ready in Photoshop. Now, if that white background is distracting you, you can change the canvas background color to anything. Just right click and choose whatever you like. I'm gonna choose black. It keeps the distraction away. And it depends upon image to image. If I'm uploading something on the web, I'm gonna change the background to white to see how's that gonna look in Facebook, because in Facebook, you have the background white. And in many social media, the background is white. Depending upon the social media or the website, change the canvas background color. Okay, so that's a tip, not much related. All right, so the first thing that we have to do is to remove the blemishes. And how do we do that? Simple, create a new layer. Click on this new layer button. This creates a new layer. If you want, you can name this blemishes. And also, if you want to increase the size of the thumbnails here, you can right click and choose medium size thumbnails or large size. I'm going to choose medium size. That's fine for me. Double click on the text and name this blemishes. And guys, I'm going slow for this tutorial so that you grab everything. And if you think this tutorial is slow for you, you can watch the fast tutorial. Link is up in here. All right, so let's zoom in quite a bit. Okay, and now it's time for us to remove the blemishes. What I would suggest is using the regular healing brush tool. All right, so you would go over the tool, right click in here and choose the healing brush tool. This is the regular one. What the spot healing brush tool does is that it automatically takes sample for you. And we don't want that because it usually softens the blemish and we lose the texture. We don't want that. So let's choose the healing brush tool. Okay. And now let's make the brush a little smaller by holding the Alt key or the Option key. And with the help of the right mouse button, hold that as well. Drag it to the left to make the brush smaller and drag it to the right to make the brush bigger. So you would drag right by holding the Alt key and the right mouse button to make it bigger, drag it left to make it smaller, drag it up to make it soft, and drag it down to make it hard. So let's make it a little soft. Let's make it a little small, just like so. And if you're using a Mac, that would be Option, Control, and the mouse button. Okay. Or if you're using a tablet, button. Okay. So let's zoom in quite a bit and start removing the regular blemishes. And the best way to see the blemishes is by creating a black and white adjustment layer. So simply create a black and white adjustment layer. Okay, let's zoom out a bit and then take down the reds. That way we see the blemishes very well. It doesn't have many blemishes, but then again, let's just do it and come back to blemishes layer and make sure you're sampling from current and below, because we also want to sample from the background layer. Current layer is empty. So zoom in and start removing those blemishes. I don't think there are much, but let's try removing them. We'll take a sample by holding the Alt key or the Option key. Click on where you want to sample from and start painting over there. It just removes it. Take a sample, paint. Right? Simple stuff. Take a sample, paint. Take a sample, paint. I think it's too bright over there. Take a sample, paint. Simple. Nothing difficult here. I know it's sometimes a little monotonous, but I find it fun. I don't know why. I just find it fun. Maybe you do too. Let me know if you do. The giveaway will be just after we finish the blemish thing. So stay tuned for that, okay? I'm just gonna mute the volume of my laptop because sometimes the updates and those bling bling notifications, we don't want those to be recorded in the tutorial. All right. Also, you want to make sure that the mode is normal. Sometimes the mode is something else and people just freak out. Nothing is happening, everything is going wrong. Make sure the mode is normal. And also at the same time, it's current and below. I know you might think, why not all layers? Because we don't want to consider the black and white adjustment layer. We just don't want to sample from black and white stuff. But just make sure it's current and below so that only the layers which are beneath it are being sampled from. Okay. Sometimes you're going to have hairs around and it's going to be messy. It will be difficult to remove the blemishes. At that point, don't worry about the hair. Remove it. Nobody cares about that single strand of hair lying over there, right? You don't have to be so very accurate. It's not photojournalism. It's art. If that hair is disturbing you, remove it. Okay? Simply remove it. You got to be a little strict here. Strict for the hairs, not for the art, so that the art can be free. And I'm speaking gibberish. Let's finish this. Yeah, it's pretty much done. You can turn that off if you cannot see in the dark, or you can play with the settings inside of the black and white properties. You can just turn it on and you can like decrease the reds to see more of it. But then again, what I do when I cannot see something, I'll just turn it off, because in the dark it just takes away the details. All right, so now we have done most of it. Let's move over here. There are a couple of things that we need to remove here. See these scars. Make sure you're doing it in the blemishes layer, not in the background layer. That way every blemish removal is on a separate layer. One more tip when it comes to the regular healing brush tool or even the clone stamp tool is this thing called aligned. Okay, now watch this. If I sample from here, okay, I'm sampling from here and I'm painting here. Okay, the sample from is here and I'm painting here. Now if I'm painting here again, the sample place remains the same. Okay, all right. Now if you check aligned, what happens is according to the distance and the direction, the sampling from will also move as well according to where you paint. For example, if you sample from here and paint here, see it's there. Now if I paint there, it moved there. If align is not checked, right, let's go back. And if I take a sample from here, paint here, the sample from is there. And if I paint here again, see, it's still at the same place. So sometimes aligned is good. I always keep it checked, right? Okay, so that it moves with that. You don't have to sample again and again, although it's advisable, but for quick stuff, you don't have to sample again and again. I think we have done it. Is there anything left? Let's zoom in quite a bit here. Do not forget the body. We get so engrossed doing the face that we do forget the body. So do not forget it. Okay. There's one. It's going to be a little difficult to remove. There we go. We did it. Okay. There's one over there. It's not a blemish, but now that we have seen it, why to keep it? Okay. Looks pretty good. Let's just turn it off and let's see how much of a blemish have we removed. So this is the before, this is the after. We have removed the blemishes. Now we don't need the black and white adjustment layer. Let's go ahead and delete that. Now it's time for us to do frequency separation. Now it's totally upon you whether you want to do dodge and burning after this or before this. I usually do blemishes and then frequency separation, and after that all of those dodging and burning effects and curves and all those crazy stuff. Keep in mind that whatever method you use works for you. To move forward with frequency separation, first off we need to create a stamp visible layer. And here comes the giveaway. We already know how to do frequency separation, the regular method, and how do we usually create the layers, the high frequency and the low frequency layers for frequency separation. If you're not sure how to do that, check this video out. We go step by step on how to do that in that video. However, today I'm going to introduce a plugin that allows you to do it much better and easier and much more efficient way. Alright, my friend Nino Batista gave me that plugin, and full disclosure, he did not pay me, and I'm not paid to say this. He just gave me the plugin and said, hey Unmesh, why don't you try it? I want you to use it. So I used it. I really liked it. And I asked him whether I can give that away to you guys so that you can also benefit. So there will be 5 winners for this giveaway. So check the description on how to apply for this contest. If in the contest you get the most points, and if you're one of the lucky ones, you will receive a free copy of this plugin. To be able to use the plugin, we need to create a stamp visible layer. And how to do that? You already know the shortcut. Press Ctrl, Alt, Shift and E. Command, Option, Shift and E on a Mac. Alright, so this creates a merged layer of everything that you see in the canvas right now. So let's rename it Flattened. Double click on the text. Flattened. Now because it's a flattened layer of the blemishes and the background. Okay, now to use the plugin, all we need to do, we need to go to Windows and then Extensions. Now once you install the plugin, you'll see it here. That is NBP FreqSep Control. Stands for frequency separation. Alright, now this plugin appears. Now we simply need to increase the radius and keep on increasing it. And as you increase, you will see a real-time preview. Now let's have a look. Half of the side on the right hand side, we have the details. On the left hand side, we will have the colors. Now, here's what I do. Keep on increasing the radius to a point where all the skin texture is gone on the left hand side, and you will obviously see the details on the right hand side. The texture that you lose here, you'll see on the right hand side. So you need to find that sweet spot where the skin texture just goes away. Don't go too high, because that way you'll have more than the detail on the right hand side. We don't want that, okay? So we'll just stop at the point where the skin texture goes away, and this gives you a real-time preview of what you will get. A little bit of skin texture is still there. You can zoom in. And if you want to control this, you can stop at 7.3. That's okay. You can stop here if you totally want complete control over it. Now here's the thing. Keep in mind, the higher the value you go, the quicker and easier it will be for you to be able to even out the skin. However, the higher the value you go, the lesser control you will have. For example, if you're at a lower value, okay, you will have more control over evening these intricacies out. However, it will take you a lot of time and skill as well. So if you go to a higher value, you don't have to control much. So for me, I think I'm gonna choose, I don't want to spend a whole day doing this. So I'm gonna choose like 8.4, something like that. 8.8 is fine for me. Everything is gone, it works. On the right hand side, you can see the texture. Now, the radius is not simply Gaussian blur. They use their proprietary blurring algorithm. Okay, so now here's the detail threshold. You can increase it to preserve the details, but I seldom use it. So as you increase it, see, some of the details are preserved, but I don't use it. I want complete control. Okay, if you want to do it easy and quick, you can just increase it, but I want complete control. I keep the details at 0. Now you see the preview like this. You can change the preview to this, to left and right over there, or you can have any kind of preview, or you can just see the base. Click on the base to just see the base of colors. Click on the details to just see the details. Okay, now once you're ready, once you're satisfied with this, all you have to do, you have to click apply. Simply click apply and you are good to go. You can also control the preview split, which was in the middle. You can control it by using this slider over there, but I don't need it anymore. Now, as you can see, the texture layer and the color layer is automatically created. Now, if you do not want to use the plugin, before you write something in the comments, I'm going to show you how to do that without the plugin as well. So let's just collapse this and just make this invisible for a second. And let's create one more stamp visible layer. So let's create a new layer and let's create stamp visible layer. So once you have created a stamp visible layer, if you don't want to use the plugin, all you have to do, make one more copy of it, okay, by pressing Ctrl or Command J. Now you can name this details or high frequency or whatever, or texture, and you can name this color, the same thing. Okay, now what we have to do, turn off the details. In the color, you have to go to filter, blur, and then Gaussian blur. Okay, do the same thing. Increase the radius to the point where you think all the skin texture is gone. We choose 8.8, right? Hit OK. Okay. Now, it is just that you have to go through a longer process and the plugin gives you a little more refined results. So I use the plugin, but it's not necessary to use it. You don't have to use it. All right. So once you have the color done, turn on the details. Now let's come to the details layer and then go to image, apply image. Now we need to subtract the color from the stamp visible layer so that we just have the details, right? So I've already discussed this in this video, and there's even one more video on this. So if you want to go more detailed into this stuff, check out this video and all the other videos linked up in the description. Okay, so we need to choose the layer color. So you want to subtract the color, and blending, of course, subtract. Make sure you choose the value to 128. If you want to know why these values, again, check out this video. Okay, so once you have 128, subtract RGB color, we are subtracting the color, hit OK. So this is the details layer. And then change the blend mode of this one to linear light. Okay, and we have the same thing. You can make a group of both of them. And this is the same thing. Okay, this is the same thing and this is the same thing. It's just that between these two layers, I've created one more layer where we will just even out the skin. It's the same thing. Have a look. These three. Have a look here. These three. Okay. The plugin makes it faster and the results are refined. Okay, let's turn this on. All we have to do, we have to come to the transitions one and we can create as many layers as we want. Now, let's simply take the brush. Okay. If you are using a tablet, then I would suggest this. Go to Windows and brush settings, and you can save this brush later. Make sure transfer is checked. Okay, just the transfer, and flow jitter. Make sure this is pen pressure, and this is what I personally use. Opacity, I want to keep it off. Okay, that's what we have to do. Brush tip shape, make sure the hardness is 0. And everything else is fine. So what you have to do, you can select a normal brush or a soft round opacity and flow or whatever you like. So let's start with a soft round brush. Let me make it for you again right from scratch. Okay, so if you're selecting this brush, go to Windows, brush settings. Okay, make sure just the transfer is checked. Now inside of transfer, flow jitter, pen pressure, and Control off. If you are not using a tablet, make sure you're using the soft round brush itself. Make sure the hardness is 0%. And then what we need to do, we need to decrease the flow to somewhere around 3 to 4%. For this, I'm going to go 4% so that you can see the differences very quickly. 3 takes a little time. Okay, so here's what we do. Go to the eyedropper tool here. Make sure the sample is current and below. Also make sure that the sample size is not point sample. It has to be 3 by 3, 5 by 5, 11 by 11, depending upon the resolution and the size of the portrait in your image. What does these mean? See, when you select point sample and then you take a sample, it just takes a sample from that one point pixel. Now, if you move a little bit around that, you might sample a noise pixel, or you might sample a pixel which is very dark from the surrounding areas. You don't want that. So you need to select something like 11 by 11 or 5 by 5. What that does is that it creates a square of 11 by 11 pixels and takes the average color as a sample. So I'm going to choose 11 by 11. That's fine. That works for me. Now let's zoom in, and we need to remove this dark area. So let's come back to the brush. First off, we need to make sure that the settings are right in the eyedropper tool. Let's come back to the brush and then simply sample this by holding the Alt key or the Option key. Click here and start painting over there. Just like so. Okay. Now, to make sure that we don't go crazy here, here's what I personally do. Go to Windows, okay, Arrange, then New Window for whatever the image is. So we have 2 windows for the same document. What we can do now, we can go to Windows, Arrange, to Up Vertical. So on the right hand side, we have the zoomed out version. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and just control the border right here. It's good. Now this is the zoomed in version. So whatever changes I make here will be reflected on the right hand side, because sometimes what happens is we might make some retouching, it might look awesome, and then when we zoom out, it looks totally bad. So you want to constantly have the zoomed out version on the right hand side visible real time, and here on the left hand side you want to have the zoomed in version, or you can have vice versa. Right and left doesn't really matter, depending upon what suits you, just to give you an idea. Okay, so what I prefer to do, so in this layer I'm just retouching this portion of the eye. That way I'm more confident that if something goes wrong, I'll have to just change this layer. Also, here's one more tip. Turn off the texture layer. It gives you a nice preview of where the unevenness is. And then go forward. See, there's this unevenness. We need to just work on it. Just take sample, holding the Alt key or the Option key, and keep on painting. Just like that. Take sample, paint, take sample, paint. And ask yourself this question. What do you want this area to be painted with? Okay, so for this area, I wanted this area to be brighter because it's facing the light. So I'm sampling from the brighter areas and painting around it. Okay. And we want to erase that red line. So I'm painting over that. Now, I see a lot of flatness over here. So I'll paint sample from the light area, bright area, and then sample here. Paint here, sorry. See this line? We need to get rid of this. Okay. All right, pretty cool. So we did very quickly this thing. We need to obviously blend this thing nicely, but I'm going to show you the differences. So here is the after and here is the before, after, before, after. Okay, now this is a process which usually takes a little more time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to retouch it and make the video a little faster for you so that you can see what's happening when. And also I would suggest that while you're retouching, please listen to some good music so that you don't make yourself monotonous. For this image, I think it will take for me 30 to 40 minutes. Let's see how much time it takes. And here we go. So here we are with our results after frequency separation. So here's the before and here is the after. What a massive change. So let me show that to you again. So here is the before, here is the after. Now one thing you might have seen while I was retouching, I also made changes to the texture. So if that was confusing for you, let me show that to you again. Okay, so here's what we did. After you have done all these layers, as you saw in the super fast video, here's what you have to do. Let me just turn that off for you for a second and let me make a copy for the high texture. Okay, it might have been named differently, but it's the same thing. Okay, and the blend mode was linear light, and let me turn these two off. Just forget these two even exist over there. Okay, they don't exist, forget that. So this was there and all these layers, and at the bottom we had the low color. Okay, and we have the high texture. Okay, so if you want to make a change to the texture, for example, if you want to change the wrinkles, remove the wrinkles, or make changes here, or make any changes to the texture of the skin, here's what you have to do. Instead of making changes directly to this layer, because that can be destructive, what I would suggest you to do is to make a copy of the same by pressing Ctrl or Command J. Okay, now this increases the texture. We don't want that. Change the blend mode to normal and make sure this layer stands up for this layer. Make sense? No? So just follow me. Hold the Alt key or the Option key. Click on the line between these two. Okay, so this layer is being applied to this layer. Okay, so this layer stands in for this layer. So we can make changes to this layer and we already have the master backup. So whatever changes you want to make in this layer. Okay, so for this the blend mode is normal and for this the blend mode is linear light. Okay, so all we have to do, select the clone stamp tool, make sure you're sampling from the current layer, not current and below this time. Current layer, because we just want to make changes to this, changes to the texture, sampling from the texture layer, that's it. Okay, current layer. Make the brush accordingly, the size accordingly, set the size and take a sample by holding the Alt key or the Option key, take a sample and just paint over that. Okay, simple stuff. That's what we did in the sped up video. Okay, simple stuff. For example, here, I want to remove that texture, take a sample from here, whatever texture you want to replace it with. So for example, say, okay, I cannot find a faulty stuff. Okay, so here's a line, I want to replace it with this texture. So I'll take a sample here and I'll replace it just like that. Okay, so these are the areas, I don't want that kind of eye bag texture over there. So I want this texture. So I'll take a sample from here. Don't worry about the color. This is just texture. Okay, the color is going to remain the same. See how the texture is being replaced. You can also change the flow of the brush to control how much of it you want to transfer. So little slowly and gradually, you can just change the texture. Just like that, you get the idea. Okay, so if you want texture like this over there, you can have any kind of texture anywhere. Now, I know that looks bad, but you get the idea, right? So let's get that back, however it was. And that's how you edit the texture. Okay, so that's what it is. That's what these two layers were. So let's delete both of them. I already did them. So let's turn them on. Let's do them like it was. And it looks wonderful. Now, after we have done frequency separation, let's take care of the highlights. So let's collapse this group. And I want highlights in the hair as well, highlights on her eyelids, on the lipstick. So let's start with a couple areas on the face. So let's go ahead and create a curves adjustment layer. Click on the adjustment layer icon and let's choose curves. Now, take it all up, just like that. Okay, just like so. And then select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I. Okay, now let's take the brush. Okay, make sure it's a soft brush, big brush, increase the flow to 100%. Foreground color has to be white. Press X to toggle between the foreground and the background. Let's just simply dab over there. Looks wonderful, right? Similarly, let's just do it over here on the lips. Don't worry, it looks too bright, I know, but don't worry about how it looks right now. And if you paint a little extra, you know what to do. Press X to toggle between the black and the white, and with the black, paint out the extra areas very easily. Let's zoom in to be more precise over here. Okay, Looks pretty good. Let's press X, get back to the brush tool, and let's paint this area in white. Looks interesting. Okay, looks amazing. Now, once you have done that, double click on the right hand side of the curves adjustment layer. We want to make sure that we just brighten the bright areas, and this opens up the layer styles dialog box. What we need to do, we need to take the slider of the underlying layer from left to right, just like so. It hides the dark areas of the underlying layer from the current layer. What is the current layer? Curves, right? So it hides whatever area is dark in the underlying layer, whatever layer there is beneath this, the combination of those underlying layers. It deletes the dark areas of these layers from this layer. Okay, so if you take this slider from the left, you see looks much more accurate, but then again it's harsh. So hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on it, break the slider, and then you separate them. Looks much more natural. Hit OK. Okay. Now what you can do, you can make one more copy of the same curves adjustment layer or enhanced, what do you call it? Shine, right? So in this one, I want to hide the lips. I just love the shine over there. So I'll take the brush, make sure the foreground color is black. I'll just paint over the lips. I don't want there, but I like it at the top. So let's decrease the opacity. Again, it's too much. I love it like that. Now you can also add shine to the nose if you want to. But for that, we need to create one more curves adjustment layer. And let's go ahead and create one more. Because the same blend if settings don't work for every area. Okay, just like so. And this time, double click on the right hand side, right from the beginning. Opens up the layer styles dialog box. Take the underlying layer from left to right until only the nose is shining, like that. I love it. Hold the Alt or the Option key. Click on this one to break it. Wow. Looks wonderful. Okay, pretty good. Hit OK. Zoom out. Let's see which areas it's adding shine to before, after. Adding shine to those areas. Let's decrease the opacity. Let's increase it. 38% is fine. I don't like the shine on the head. Looks like she's sweating. So I'll select the mask, take the brush and paint black over here. Okay, looks pretty good. All right. Now that we have added the shine, let's have a look at the lips. It's looking like too much. So I'm going to go back to this thing and probably decrease the flow a little bit and decrease the shine from the lips. Okay, looks pretty good. Now let's add some shine to the hair. So let's create one more curves adjustment layer. Okay, and this time let's take it up just like the previous time and double click on the right hand side. Make sure we're just brightening just look at the hair. Don't look at anywhere else. Don't look at the face or anywhere else. Just look at the hair. Hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on it. Make sure the hairs are shining well. Okay, now they're shining well. I'm pretty satisfied. Select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I to invert the mask. Now take the brush, make sure the foreground color is white. Make the brush a little bigger and just simply dab. Just like this. See the shine? Wonderful. Let's add some shine over here. Let's add some over there. Looks wonderful. Let's zoom out and have a look. Wow, looks nice. So let's decrease the opacity. Okay, I'm happy with this thing. Now let's improve the color. As you can see, the shadows have become a little greenish. Let's improve the color over here. So to do that, again, we can create a curves adjustment layer. Click on the adjustment layer icon, choose curves. Okay, and now let's just go to the greens. Okay, go to the greens, and then with the hand tool selected, all you have to do is just hover over this area, the greenish area, click and drag it down. This takes away the greens. We don't want to take it away completely. That's how it looks. But it goes a little more magenta-ish. So in the highlights, we'll add a little bit of green, just like that. Okay, let's have a look at the before and after. Before, after, the greenish tint is gone. Now what I would suggest you is this. Create a hue saturation adjustment layer. And we want to take the saturation away from this skin as well a little bit. So we will click on this tool, click on the skin and take the saturation away a little bit, just a tad bit. Okay, -10 is good. Let's go even more. -17 is great. Let's get back to curves. I think we need to add a little bit yellow. Let's go to blues. Let's decrease the blues that adds yellow, because we want to add that yellow tint to it. Okay, let's increase the blues in the shadows. Let's get back to greens. Let's see how decreasing the green helps. No, not so much. Okay, now that is adjusted. I'm in love with this. Okay, so I think there's still a little bit green over here. So what we're gonna do, let's go ahead and create one more curves adjustment layer at the top. Okay, just for that area. Click it, take it down, just like that. Not the RGB, but the greens. Whoops. Just like so. Okay, now once you're satisfied, click on the mask, press Ctrl or Command I, then take the brush and simply paint on that particular area with white. Make sure the flow is 100%. Anyway, those details are gonna go away. Let's turn this off, turn this on. You see those green tint is gone from there. Okay, pretty good. Now it's too much. Let's decrease the opacity to something around 61. That's okay. Now let us create one more curves adjustment layer. We want a completely black background. Okay, so for that, let's create a curves adjustment layer. Make the blacks as dark as possible. If we go too far, we will lose the details. We don't want that. We want to go just a little bit like that. Okay, that looks wonderful. Now there are a couple areas in the background which really needs to go away. So what we can do, we can simply create a solid color adjustment layer. Click on the adjustment layer icon and choose solid color. Now here you can choose black. Okay, select the mask, press Ctrl or Command I. Then if you want to keep the background, keep the background, but I'm gonna just paint with white over the mask. Okay, gone. Here as well, just let's erase these things. Now you don't have to erase it completely. Okay, pretty good. Now let's get this away. If you painted extra, something like this, all you have to do, press X, make sure foreground color is black again, and get back these areas. Now, looks pretty good. Let's add one more curves adjustment layer and add a faded effect. Curves adjustment layer, where did that go? And let's increase the shadows like that. Okay, and let's take away the details to add that faded effect a little bit. Now, once you have added that faded effect, you can also add some colors to it. You can add some reds to it. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to red channel. And let's add some reds to it like that. Wow, it looks wonderful to me. Now at this point, you can try turning this off and on. See how that looks, turning each of them off and on. Turning this off and on. I think this was not required so much. So I'm gonna decrease the opacity of this thing to, okay, that looks great. Now have a look at how nice the skin looks. But at this point, I think there should have been a little more skin texture. Wouldn't that be nice? All we have to do, just simply go back to the frequency separation. Okay, let's open that up. Now inside of that, there's this high texture. Make sure you select this one as well at the top of it. Make a copy of it. Press Ctrl or Command J, just like so. Now you have double texture over there. Now all we need to do is, let's group both of them, press Ctrl or Command G, and then hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on the mask button to create a negative mask. So wherever you want some extra texture, take the brush, make sure the foreground color is white, decrease the flow to somewhere around 10%. Okay, and then just simply paint on the areas where you want that extra texture. So I'm gonna paint here a little bit. Let's decrease the flow even more. It's very powerful. Let's go 3-ish. Okay, I want a little extra texture here on the nose, here as well. So wherever you want that extra texture, you can just paint in those areas, right? That adds that extra texture to those areas. So let's have a look. Before, after, some extra texture. It's fun to say, extra texture. Looks amazing. So let me show you the complete before and after. So here is the before. Here is the after. Totally refined. Looks nice. Now if you don't want reddish tint, you can let go of it. That's completely upon you. I'm gonna go back to the red. If you want some other tint, you can have that too. A little bit reddish. For example, if you want to have blue tint, you can have a blue tint. That's totally upon you. Now after you have done your tinting and all those stuff, you can add Liquify. Now Liquify is something which I would suggest you add it at the beginning or at the end. Now at the end, let me show you a great trick. Now this is something which not a lot of people might have told you about. So there's two ways of adding Liquify non-destructively. First off is simple. Create a stamp visible layer, Control Alt Shift and E. Okay, Command Option Shift and E on a Mac. Press that, stamp visible layer. Convert that into a smart object. Go to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. Okay, hit OK. That converts it into a smart object. Now while it is taking a while, if you want, you can also boost the colors of lips and stuff to make it even more interesting. Do you want to know how to do that? Okay, so let's delete it and let's do that. That gave me an idea. Alright, so let's go ahead and create a hue saturation adjustment layer and let's simply select reds and increase the saturation. But that also boosts the colors of other areas. We don't want that. So increase the saturation all the way around. Change the hue. And we want to select only the lips. So here, just narrow it down. This is the range that we are targeting and changing. We want to make sure that we want to target only the lips. So make the target as big as the lips and take other areas away. Okay, looks great. Now let's get back everything to normal, 0, and now let's increase the lips. Wow. You can also mask it out if you want to, mask it in if you want to. Looks great to me. Just a little bit of touch to the lips. And then let's go ahead and create a stamp visible layer. Control Alt Shift and E. Then you already know, convert for smart filters. Hit OK. Now all we gotta do is wait. Now once it's converted, go to Filter, Liquify. Now inside of Liquify, you already know what to do. Zoom in, hold the space bar and drag to move. Okay. Now with the forward warp tool, you can just correct stuff. Make it a little bigger. And just nudge it, slowly nudge it, like so. Make it a little bigger, and okay, we got that right. Let's zoom out a little bit. We can get the nose straight if we want to. Zoom in. Make the brush of the size of the thing that you need to move. Okay, so for the nose, if you want to make it straight, something like this, you can make it straight, and okay. This looks great. And if you want, you can also edit this area. Okay. All right. It's pretty good. You don't have to do too much, but if you want, you can. Now, once you're ready, all you have to do, hit OK. Now, here's the advantage. If you want to make change or if you want to bring something back, you can just double click on the Liquify and it will open up the Liquify again, and you can still restore all. Click on the restore all and everything is restored. Or if you want to make changes to that, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna hit cancel. So that is non-destructive. Now here's where this technique shines. If you want to make changes somewhere, so if you want to just turn off the curves or just turn off the hue saturation, okay, let's obviously turn this off. So if you want to like turn off the curves and then you want to do it, so here's what you would do. You would create one more stamp visible layer, Control Alt Shift and E, simple. Create a blank layer, Control Alt Shift and E. Whenever you are not able to create a stamp visible layer, create a blank layer and then press the keys Control Alt Shift and E, Command Option Shift and E, right? And then convert this into a smart filter, smart object. Just click on Convert for Smart Filters, converts that to smart object. And then once this is converted to smart object, you can just copy over the smart filter to this very, very easily. So yeah, it might take a while. Now once it's done, all you have to do, hold the Alt key or the Option key, just drag the smart filter and drop it over there. And Liquify will be repeated and copied over to this very easily. As you can see, it's processing, writing mesh data. Let it do its work. See, amazing, isn't it? All right, so that's one way of doing it. There are a lot of other ways. Now, one other way is, let's delete this. One other way is very interesting. Now, that requires a lot of CPU though, I have to say. Select all of them, okay? Select all of them till the frequency separation. So let's collapse that. Okay, select all of them, okay? Now, once you select all of them, right click on them and select Convert to Smart Object. Now, as you can see, all of them have been combined together and have been converted to a smart object. Now, you can apply Liquify to this. Go to Filter and then Liquify. Alright, so any changes you want to make, you will make like so and hit OK. Alright. Now, anytime you want to make any change to those curves, those adjustments, the frequency separation layers, all you have to do, double click on the thumbnail. Okay. It will open up another document. Have a look. It's reading it because it's a large document and it says it's a large document. Photoshop already knows what we are going through. Now, as you can see, all those layers are back in a completely separate background, and you just have to make changes to those stuff, whatever you want to make changes to, and then you would click File, Save, and it would update automatically. For example, you want to just turn off something, okay, something like this. We don't want that, but just saying for example, okay, and then all you have to do, go to File and Save. Just save, not save as, save. Okay, so it's saving it right now. Now, as soon as it saves it, you will see the original document update. Now this has been saved. Let's go back to the original document. Let's see, it has been updated as well. So that's another way to do it, but I wouldn't recommend it all the times because it's a little bit slow. Depending upon the power of your computer, your system, do it. Totally depends upon what you want to do. Let's go back. I like this tone. Let's delete it. Let's just close that document and we are happy with it. So there you go. We are done with it. Now you can go to File and click on Save. Now, once you do that, it will open up back in Lightroom. So Lightroom automatically opened with our image. Now, if you want to make any changes, you can do here as well. For example, if you wanted to make it a little darker, or if you wanted to add a little more red tone, let's go to the red channel. Let's add some little reddish tone tint to it. Or if you want to do a little bit of split toning, right? In the highlights, you wanted to add a little bit yellowish tone, something like that. Maybe play in the basic panel. Let's go to the basic panel and maybe decrease the highlights or increase the highlights a little bit. Whites, take down the blacks even more, right? So you can do whatever you want here. If you want to increase the sharpness, let's go to the details and add some sharpness to it. Let's go 1:1. Let's go 1:1 here. And now let's add some sharpness. For females, I don't go high number. 80 is fine. Let's control the radius by holding the Alt key or the Option key. Let's not increase it too much so that we see the halo effect. We don't want that. I'm going to keep the radius at 1.2. That's fine for me. Details, not too much. Let's go 22. This number is fine. Masking. Now masking is important. We don't want to just sharpen every area out. Hold the Alt or the Option key. Increase the masking. Seamless area need not be sharpened. So let's fit it and have a look. This looks wonderful. Or let's fill it. Have more closer look to it. Looks wonderful. If you want to do noise reduction, go for it. And that is pretty much done. All right. So I worked with it a little bit. So here is the final result. This is the before and this is the after. So that's pretty much it. That's how to do some high-end portrait and skin retouching in Photoshop and Lightroom combined. That's a long process, so the recap would be a little difficult for me to do, but I'll try. So here is the recap. Do the very basic adjustments in Lightroom. Number 1, okay, very basic adjustments in Lightroom. Go to Photoshop, remove the blemishes, then do the frequency separation, and after that, do whatever you have to do. Dodging and burning, we didn't include in this image because it didn't require it. Not every image requires every step. It's just like that. Not every patient will eat every medicine. That will be sad if you give him everything. Well, we don't want to do that anyway. So after you do skin retouching with frequency separation, then you would go for eye retouching, lip retouching, and there's a complete playlist right here on portrait retouching. Do check that out. And after that, you would make adjustments with curves and all that stuff. And at the end, Liquify. You can also do Liquify in the beginning. Make sure it is non-destructive. Then get back to Lightroom, do whatever changes you want to make here, and you're pretty much done. You can export it from here by simply going to Library and clicking on Export. Okay, just click on Export. It's half loaded. I know it looks strange. Now it's fully loaded. All right, now export to a specific folder where you want to export. You can choose the format as well, whatever format you want. So you can choose JPEG or TIFF, whatever format, and then export it. Simple stuff. That's how you do it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if this video helped you, make sure to give us a like, and also do not forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss a single future tip, trick, or tutorial. I would like to take this moment to thank all these nice and amazing people for supporting this channel on Patreon and helping keep PiXimperfect free for everybody forever. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.